Is your child 2, 3, 4, and you don't have a curriculum picked out yet? Don't worry. I know exactly what you need. Welcome to Plan, Prep, Pray. Hey girlie, my name is Wendy and I am a homeschooling stay-at-home mom of 4 little ones, and on this channel I talk about all things homeschooling, home management, mommy self-care, and kids empowerment. So subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Alright, so let's get one thing straight. Your child is 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. They don't really need a curriculum. I am so guilty of forcing my 2-year-old, my 3-year-old to sit down and have a structured curriculum and learn about all the letters of the week and the sounds and this letter makes this sound. And it's just such a young age to be forcing or to be requiring them to learn in a structured environment. Now, my #1 recommendation when it comes to those ages is to kind of act like a daycare center. You know, have a routine, have a flow, this is what we do in the morning, and we play, and just have them learn more through play, learn more through daily life, and lots and lots and lots of outside time, lots of songs, lots of reading, and lots of just doing life with you when you're cooking, when you're cleaning. Just have your little buddy by your side. That's mostly what I recommend at this age. I still think it's really just way too young to have a structured curriculum. But with all that being said, I have a 2-year-old that has a 8-year-old and a 5-year-old in front of him, and he sees them working and he sees them doing curriculum, and he's looking for his curriculum and he's looking for his schoolwork. So because of that is the only reason why I even really have curriculums and things assigned, well, I don't want to say assigned, but things laid out for him to do. Now, what I do is I have my tried and true curriculums. It encompasses 5 levels, and now these 5 levels are child transitions to the next level. And now we don't necessarily expect our child at 2 years old to go through levels 1 through 5 by the time he's 3. It just doesn't really work that way. He just, by seeing whether or not he's bored, whether or not he's just excelling past that level, that lets me know it's time to move to the next level. I don't necessarily have a certain time frame on that level, but if you watch my homeschool planning video, you know that I plan by the quarter. So a lot of the times what ends up happening is a child will do a level a quarter, and you will see a natural progression within 3 months that the child is progressing to the next level. And so that's what's worked for us, and that's what we'll be doing with our little one. So let's jump right in so I can show you what we're using for each level. So this is what we pretty much consider level 1 when it comes to our preschoolers. And we utilize what your preschooler needs to know from core knowledge. And in here we have songs, stories, history, science, art, and poems. And what happens is you open it up and you go to the science section and read a little bit, or you go to the history section and read a little bit, or you go to the story section and read the stories and the poems. And our little ones just really songs. They love this because it's so beautiful and they love the bright pictures, and it's short and sweet and just perfect for a preschooler. So that's worked very well in our home, as well as doing a lot of flashcard work. So what we do is we do letters, numbers, we have shapes in here, and colors. And so we do about 5 to 10 minutes of flashcard work. When it comes to the letters, we don't say the letter name, we do letter sounds prior to learning letter names. So once our child knows all the letter sounds, then we transition over to letter names. We find that that has helped a lot when it comes to teaching our children how to read. Now, we also do, I don't want to say we're fully Montessori, but we do some Montessori work in which we make sure that in our child's box, we make sure that they have fine motor, sorting, and matching. And so we have an array of different fine motor, sorting, and matching activities in a larger box. And so from that larger box, I pick 1 to 2 of each category and I keep it in there for the week. I tend to switch it out on a weekly basis, and that way the child doesn't get bored, but I can always bring it back on a monthly basis and it'll be like brand new to them. Now, as the other thing we do in level 1 is we do a lot of puzzles to encourage not only fine motor, but also colors and shapes and animals and sounds. And we just do a lot of different activities with these 2 puzzles in particular. And the good thing about it is when their fine motor is not quite as strong, they're able to still use these because the knobs are larger. So this has worked very well in our home. Now, when we go on over to level 2, you will see that we bring out our tried and true JDA preschool curriculum, which she has on her Teachers Pay Teachers website. So I will link as much of these things as I can, but this one I'll definitely link. So we transition over to this. This is a more structured curriculum, but it doesn't require any writing. So everything is either circling or matching, and so that tends to work well with a child that doesn't know how to write yet. So we do her math one, as well as on the other side you will see is the language arts one, which has a lot more. So we transitioned from level 1 to level 2, and that's one of the big transitions, is a more structured preschool curriculum. Now, we also transitioned the puzzle to a more fine motor type puzzles. Our puzzles are Velcroed down, because if not, they just fall out of the box that they're in, so they're Velcroed down. So I actually take them all out so that he's able to put them back in. But these knobs are a little bit smaller in comparison to the level 1 knobs. Sometimes our child is ready to transition puzzle-wise, but not curriculum-wise. So we'll go to level 2 when it comes to the puzzles, but then we'll stay on level 1 when it comes to what we're doing curriculum-wise. So it just really depends on the child. But as well, the other thing that we incorporate within level 2 is more books. And so we pick out 1 book a week. We have way more books than these, but these are just a couple of family favorites. And we read this same book, or whichever book we pick for that week, over and over again, almost every single day for 5 days, and they love it. So they love repetition when it comes to reading, and reading is a big thing in our house. So as you can tell, this one's all chewed up. But what happens a lot of the time is that if I'm not able to read, or I'm working with another child, one of my older ones would read to the younger ones, and they love when their older siblings read to them. So from there, from level 2, we transition over to level 3. Now with level 3, we're doing My First Bob Book pre-readers. And I love this because it's not the child that's reading, so don't get confused. It's you that's reading to the child. But there are activities for the child to try to recognize certain certain sounds, recognize that an apple, they'll see the apple, you'll look for the apple and things like that. So I find this to be very helpful when teaching, is to start with my first Bob books. Now when it comes to math, I'll show you that in a minute. So when it comes to math, we transition over to mathematical reasoning once they're done with the JDA curriculum. And so with mathematical reasoning, what I love about it now is same thing. It's circling, it's pointing and counting, it's a lot of shape recognition, it's coloring. There is not a lot of handwriting, which is great for a 3-year-old who is still working on fine motor, still working on grasping that pencil. So that is amazing. Now, the other thing that we do in level 3 is we do a lot of cutting. Once again, working on that fine motor, working on strengthening that skill. So we go into cutting and go into pasting and just things that require a lot finer of a grasp. Once they've got this mastered, we transition over to a more structured curriculum. Now, we do our tried and true open and go curriculum, the good and the beautiful, which has letters and sounds, vowels, numbers, colors, motor skills, sorting, matching, rhyming. It's amazing for a 3 or 4-year-old, and it has worked well. Now with this curriculum, they do some tracing. Now, depending on whether or not the child is ready for it, that will depend on whether or not we'll do that part or we'll just skip over that part. That's the thing about homeschooling. You don't have to do everything in the curriculum. So if the child is not quite ready, I'll have him trace, or I'll have him trace over it, and that's what we'll do rather than him actually using a pencil to do it. So depending on him and how he's progressing. So this course book comes with the full course book as well as some flip books, and I still need to cut them. I don't expect him to be doing this until like January, and an activity pack. So I will have to prepare all that stuff as I see him transitioning through the different levels. So the other thing that we do with level 4 is, depending on the child now, sometimes this is enough, but sometimes our children need a little bit more. And so I will have either one of the older ones work with the preschooler, or I'll work with the preschooler myself, and we will do maybe 1 or 2 sheets out of the Brain Quest pre-K curriculum, and that will be it. Sometimes they will continue to do some of the Montessori activities just because they're fun. So they'll continue to do some of those, and sometimes they won't. Sometimes this is enough, you know. Usually maybe 20 to 30 minutes for the whole thing. Now, level 5. Once this is completed, if the child even gets to this point, but once this is completed, then we transition over to teach your child to read in 100 easy lessons. And I'm going to be completely honest and straightforward with you about this curriculum. I have never finished it, and I have had 2 children so far go through it, and they all get to a point where they hit a wall with this curriculum. But like, I think one child, I think this is the farthest that we've gotten, lesson 64, and there's 100 lessons. So the furthest that we've gotten is lesson 64, and you can tell because they tell you to cover the picture, and that was the last picture that was covered. So it is a great starter to teaching children how to read. Teaching them to go underneath and recognizing the different sounds and stuff like that, and it's really encouraging for them. But
all my kids, well, 2 of my kids have hit a wall so far when it's come to finishing off this one, and that's fine. At that point, we transition into something else. I work with my child. I am not obsessed with completing curriculum. I'm obsessed with doing what works for them. Along with Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons, we use Bob Books. Bob Books are the best because they feel so good when they can sit there and read a whole story by themselves and no one has to read it to them. And there's simple pictures that are not too distracting, and it's just really, really great starting to read curriculum for little ones. It's so, so good. So that's what we do. We do Bob Books, and along with the Bob Books, because these 2, there is no writing part or no workbook part. If our child needs more workbook pages or just something to keep them occupied while I do something else, or just because they personally are interested, then we go through and we do this Bob Books workbook, which is just really, really cute how it works alongside the Bob Books.
So that's it. That's pretty much it. That's what we do with our preschooler. We transition through levels 1 through 5. And like I said, we don't do all of this at once. We don't even do all of this in a year. You know, it just really depends on how he is flowing or she is flowing and how they learn, whether they need more challenges or whether they need me to pull back. I really play off of them and work with them in that aspect. So let me know, do you plan on having a more structured homeschool or a more, unschooling type of approach when it comes to your little one? For us, we tend to be somewhere in between. We love to explore their interests and what they're into, but at the same time, if they want to do school, if they want to do a more structured school, then that's what we do with them. So let me know in the comments down below. So thank you for joining me today. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you next time. Bye. I assume that this year he's gonna move a little faster. So that's it. Like I said,